took about maybe $7 of weed to completely obliterate my mind over the past 2 days. So I've been in Chiang Mai for 2 days. I smoked a joint in Bangkok and I got a little bit of green crack here. I used to smoke weed back in the United States. And I've been in Asia for about 6 months and I haven't at all. I've been in countries with much more strict weed laws. Philippines, China. And after having my mind obliterated, sure, it felt good for a moment. And maybe I had some interesting thoughts. But I can't really bring that much down. Maybe I shot a video while smoking. Can't remember what I said. The memory doesn't get back to what I used to call baseline consciousness, which is relative sobriety. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, I get 30 days in Thailand. 2 of them are already blown. And I don't feel on top of things. I don't feel on top of tasks. And despite the gorgeous view and the really nicest apartment, I don't right now feel on top of my game. But sometimes just going outside fixes that. How can I put myself onto a path that is less delirious and more focused? And my phone is full. I can't do much. So my videos are cutting out. I'm so confused. I've been looking back at videos I shot in the past few days, seeing myself smoke weed. I didn't really listen to any sorts of insights that I came up with. One of the early things I saw was like this seeming glitching after I smoked. And I wonder how many times in my life I've used cannabis and then I'm like glitching out, and it makes me feel like, okay, I spent a long time. I spent more than a decade pretty often using marijuana, no matter where I was in the United States. And I eventually let it go because I had memories where it was like, wait, what was I doing with my life? I wanted to come to Asia 12 years ago, or something like that. And this year was like finally taking that back. And there were big steps to stop using marijuana and to stop drinking alcohol. And to get quite sober and rely on the kind of energy that travel brings you, and being TGG, being trained to go, whether that's using caffeine or just being hydrated and eating the right things, simple things, healthy things. And I still feel, I'm getting a lot better, but I still feel a little bit of mental slowness from the weed that I smoked. And it's so strange to me that I spent so much time. And I feel like the loss of days from marijuana. But I did start something. I started modeling a temple. And when I go to the Hindu and Buddhist and Taoist temples this whole time, when I make bye-bye and talk to the deities and ancestors, I ask them to give me guidance in making temples. And you know what? I look at this, and like instantly, I look at the model I've been making, and I'm excited about it. I'll show you. Okay, so I've been modeling in a video game design software called Unity. And this is a temple design I've been working on. This is the top of it. And there are different rooms. There's this middle room. It's meant for one person to stay in. Like if I could design a home for myself to be in. I want to zoom in into the center room, which is the bedroom. It's down here. Let's see if I can select the bed. Yeah. So there's a human, the size of a human. And inside here are 4 different pathways that go to different areas that can be used for creation of specific projects. One goes to a library where books can be made. Easier said than done. Whoa. Yeah. And so here are some books with no shelf yet. They're hanging in midair. Yo. Yeah, and then here's a little table back to the middle room. So that is maybe one thing I can say about weed. For me, I have a dropout in memory. It's possible to start creating and designing amazing art, but can you even remember that you did it? I don't have a perfect log system, and now, after being a literal starving artist, extremely poor artist for the better part of a decade, if not a decade or more, I grow tired with the impoverishing qualities of being perhaps a very productive artist, but also a pothead. And I made great art, and it's still possible to make great art, but I don't know where it moves to. I don't know if it finds integration with the real world, because no matter how beautiful I make this model of a temple, it really is cool to me. I can go out to the window and show you Chiang Mai, which other people already made. What's really more beautiful? I wish they were both together, but there are temples out there too. And we're here to look at these temples. But we're wondering why. We're wondering why we're really doing that. What's the real purpose behind it? But I can show you Chiang Mai. Already as it is. Not a model. A real place I can walk into. There are many small Buddhist shrines all over the place that remind me of small houses, almost like small architectural works, a lot of gold. And they're almost like, I don't know, they're like mini temples. But then there is veneration and shrines, whatever you call it, to the God King Rama X. And that is hard to ignore, because that's a living religion, it's a state religion. A monarchy, I think, maybe has to be a state religion to a certain extent. Buddhism and the state religion of King Rama. Two religions going on at the same time. I watched a video last night that said something about there's religious influence in Thailand that comes, it's more from like Sanskrit, the Sanskrit form coming out of India. And then there is the monarchical or royal influence that's more Khmer. I don't know how to pronounce that, but something related to Cambodia, or yeah. Both of those things exist, and they're both quite gold.
Rama Ganesha. I think Thailand is too cool for me. And I want to say like the Farang here, the white people here, are way cooler than I am. It's a weird thing to say, but it's very true. They're just very, very cool. It's a very awesome, cool spot, and I just don't feel cool enough being here. I feel like I should be self-flagellating or something instead of experiencing such a cool existence. And I can't even, like, I can't take drinking alcohol anymore. I can't take smoking weed anymore. There's nothing cool about me anymore. My body wants something else. But it's very cool here. I appreciate it. I just am not cool enough. My understanding of what Thailand is, before I came to Thailand, that has been obliterated by the reality of what Thailand actually is. And one reason it's been obliterated is because my perception or my understanding of Thailand before coming to Thailand was very small. And I'm not even sure what it was anymore. Just a few days ago, before I came here, there's just something, it's, I don't know, just right in the Thai language and right in the Thai alphabet is something special. And to me, I hear the language and I look at the language and it's like, it's Chinese. It's got to be related to Chinese. And the scholarly consensus is not with that. It's Thai Kadai languages are different from Chinese, but Thai Kadai languages arose in China. So they come from China, even if they're not Sino-Tibetan, even if it's not a Sino-Tibetan language, but it's tonal, and there's sprachbunding with Chinese so much you can't tell me there's not. But also, I don't know, there's just something really cool about Thai, and I want to say, like, Thai is to Chinese how Dutch is to German. And I know that's not like a correlation that can be made by scholarly consensus. It's not that. It's just like the feeling of it is Thai feels like Dutch to me, but related to these specific languages. Like Thai feels like a Dutch, you know what I mean? Thai to Chinese feels like Dutch to German to me. And, you know, it's not just the language, it's the script too, and it's like this permeation throughout an entire culture that I don't know, and I can't even say hello and thank you and you're welcome and goodbye and how much intelligently. I haven't said it intelligently yet. It's not like I feel like Tagalog I've been able to do that, but I suppose it took me a while. It wasn't like my first day. And Malay, I was able to do that a little bit. I want to be able to do things like that day 1 or 2 or 3, but if it's day 4 and I don't have that, maybe I just have no patience with that. But I don't know, like there's an anxiety, and I don't know who I am here. I like read a few things about being an annoying Farang or something in a country that was never truly colonized by the West. But it's a fascinating place in that, you know, it has a God King leader who's not here. I've never thought about such a thing. And I guess it's like, if you could bring it down to a microcosm, any old rich guy who is really well respected, you can think about it like as a I don't know, if there's a company like that or something, and then he dies and his son takes over, and the son is definitely not as popular and doesn't even hang out there. He is not a steward. He doesn't take responsibility for what he's been given, what has been handed down. But yeah, he still tries to make it so it's impossible for him to be criticized, and he remotely, double entendre, remotely controls the entire thing, or at least tries to, from a different place. Remotely, like remote work, and remotely, like barely. So now I'm thinking, like, okay, marijuana has been legalized here. When was it legalized? Because this relevant 10 took power 8 years ago in 2016. Did the weed legalization thing happen before or after that? And what is the effect on Thai culture? Would Thailand be cooler or less cool without it? And is it really just the farang? Is it really just the white people and foreigners smoking it? I saw a joint today in the road, and or on the sidewalk, when I walked past it, it really smelled. And it was like a 2/3 of a joint just on the ground. I don't think you would see that in the United States. I think if 2/3 of a joint was on the ground, somebody would pick it up near immediately. But here, it's legal and relatively affordable. I feel like it was relatively affordable because it only took me $7 to just break my brain with weed 2 days straight. It's a continued mystery to me is how, especially coming from the Midwestern United States, where it seems like you can go from Wisconsin to Illinois to Iowa to Nebraska to Minnesota and all that, and it just seems like a monoculture. It's not really, but it can feel like all this is the same. The language is the same, and everything you see driving on the road is the same, and maybe the architecture is the same or similar. But then you come to Southeast Asia, and every single country you go to is not only ruled by different people, but like entirely different language families. So like this is the first Tai Kadai ran country I've ever been in, and I've been in 2 Austronesian countries and 2 Sino-Tibetan countries. In Istanbul before that. But to think of it as like the ancestors of these people, you can't even prove that they're related to the other people, and that's so strange. Like thinking about it in contrast with the administration of the United States, it's like, okay, there's a bunch of German people here, and then there's a bunch of different like Germanic people here. There's all these Germanic people around the Midwestern United States. If they're not Germanic, they're probably Slavic. And we understand that Germans and Slavics are all Indo-European speakers, or Indo-European language speakers. But in this part of Asia, Tai Kadai people, like I'm claiming that Thai is like Chinese. But there's not a scholarly consensus that would agree with that. And it also goes into the genetics as well, which suggests that the linguistic genetics suggests things about the it's like bodily genetics. So it really, really adds to the mystery of this entire place. And that it is a cool place. They're making a very cool place for foreigners to be, to the point where the kind of foreigners I'm seeing, it's like these people are so much cooler than me. And it's weird. Because it's also like if they're there first, and I feel like there's this feeling of like if they're there first, then first of all, the Thai people are here first. Second of all, there's a strata of foreigners that are here first. Other white people from me, and I just feel like it's theirs, and I probably need to give them space in case they want to live in this world that's just them and a bunch of very different genetic people. And maybe I project that because that's one thing that I really like is being the only white person for days, because it makes me feel like I've discovered something that other people haven't. And it's like that's how I felt like in Libertad in Manila in the Philippines. So much that I don't even want to say that, but I said it there. But here it's like I know Chiang Mai is a little bit, it's not a lot more popular for digital nomads and expats. It seems similar to Bali, like that. And what's the quote? Like nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. And now maybe there's this feeling of I don't know. It's like maybe a different kind of colonization, or like what do expats coming out of the United States and other European countries with extremely high GDP? Are we immigrating, or like what are we doing as a collective? I don't know if I've ever thought about that, because most of the time we don't think about other expats because there are none. I don't see them, out of sight, out of mind. In Chiang Mai, I'm seeing them, and they're cool, and the whole area is cool. You know, it's like when I was in Xuzhou, China, that was cool, but no foreigners, all Han Chinese people. Here is like cool, Thai, like colorful. The fashion is really modern. Males and females. Fitness is like high standard. Cuisine is high standard and affordable. It's just like a resort or something. And there's something like established about that I felt like maybe in a place like Manila, finding neighborhoods where maybe I could say the same thing or almost the same thing, but there's no foreigners. And so if I'm there, then there's one foreigner. And if I'm not there, then there's no foreigners. Chiang Mai is not like that. And maybe I'm trying to like set myself apart from where I came from. Successfully or unsuccessfully, probably unsuccessfully. And then I assume that other foreigners and expats being in similar situations would also be like that. Like maybe it's not just that you were priced out of the American dream, as they say. So like part of the American diaspora is Americans leave because we can't afford it. It's not enjoyable. And it's like independently, it's not about it being better here, although it is. It's not about being better here. It's about where we come from. It's not even possible to be there. So it makes an expat, an immigrant, out of necessity. But maybe one reason that happens is because certain people have to be set apart or feel set apart. And I'm saying this because this year I've been in Asia a lot, but before that I was not in Asia for 12 years. And when I was in Asia then, I really liked just being the only white person. That made me feel special in a certain way that was really easy to do. I'm special. Why? Because I'm the only person here who came out of this entire genetic stock on this side of the world. But since then, I've realized like how much like jealousy or envy or whatever kinds of inadequacy I felt about that, and that made me want to leave American social groups and things like that. I don't know, like it can't be just me. I think in the past maybe I was like narcissistic enough or small-minded enough to think I was the only one that's like that. Now it's like, no, there's no way that I have totally original thoughts on something as basic as that, because there are other expats. And now it's like I can kind of see them, and I don't know, it's cool to be here. I just keep saying that. It's like it's so cool, and I don't feel as cool. I feel like and it's almost like there's like a high school quality to this, and I feel like I'm not that old yet. In Manila, I feel like I'm 12 or like I'm a kid or something, and like there's some kind of development there that I either had or I still want. Some kind of way that I never grew up in the United States, and I might be able to grow up somewhere else. In Chiang it's like this feels like it was super cool high school, but I'm not that old yet in a certain way. In other ways, I'm way older than that. There's certain ways, and I feel like an old soul, but other ways I feel like a very young soul. And I think we have a bunch of these different common events in development, and we live them out of order, most of us. Some of us might actually develop like in a linear way, but I really feel like you can fail 7th grade, so to speak, and then go on and pass your doctorate in something. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you passed 7th grade or 5th grade or kindergarten or something. You know, all these different points in life where you learn basic things. You can go on and be really, you have your stats like totally buffed in one area of life where you've really failed in others. And I think we're all like that. But this is like, maybe it'll change. I'll find some different way to be here for a month, but I don't know. I don't necessarily know if it feels like I'm redoing anything by being here. Like I already took this class at a different university, so to speak. But also there's something like that's kind of young, like teenage or younger in me that feels some inadequacy or some like adolescent insecurity that I don't necessarily feel. I don't know if I've necessarily felt that in all these different cities that I've been in this year. Like astrocartography and moving across the world and meeting the energy of certain cities is like always going to bring out a different part of you. Ultimately, you're living a singular life, but there are certain cities that want to train you
or want to challenge you in a certain way to do a certain thing to ultimately boost your own development. And the first step is actually discerning what that challenge is. Because before you can discern a singular challenge in an area, I think the only thing you could do in way of interaction is just perceive the chaos and culture shock of a new country. Because I don't know of a way to escape the culture shock that happens the first couple days in a new country. It's extreme. And I don't know, I feel like you would have to view things in an incredibly shallow way to just say, oh, that's nice, or that's pretty, but I'm kind of bored by it. I don't know how you could be bored by travel at this velocity and this frequency, or not. Like, I don't know if it would be any less startling to meet a new country for the first time every month, or every week, or every year, or something. I feel like it'd be startling and shocking in any of those frequencies. But your stability gets totally upended, and if you have any sort of stability, the way you're gaining stability is like through some metaphysical understanding, because otherwise there's not much actually sustaining you that's familiar. There's only metaphysical understandings of like certain kinds of logic from higher worlds that can manifest in all different worlds. Meaning there's certain skills and certain kind of understanding that you have that's multi-applicable, and you could use it in different cities and going from city to city. And sometimes I feel like I have a certain grasp on what those eternal principles are. Like, here's a piece of understanding that will help me in every single place. But then I get there and it's like, oh, I didn't need that one. So then maybe it's not really universal. So there can be a stripping down of the kinds of things that you think you need to be happy or fulfilled, or even meet a specific challenge in a new place. I get frustrated with myself because I've had the ideal of keeping one relatively small to medium-sized backpack, and that's it this entire time, because I don't want to accrue a bunch of physical things. And the longer I stay in a place, if I stay in a place for a month, or if I'm in a country for more than 1 month, I do start to build things up a little bit more. And now when I get on the plane, I have my backpack like I wanted from the beginning. And then I have a little secondary plastic bag full of stuff because I have more. And despite attempts at cutting my bag down, it's just a little bit bigger. I carry a little bit more. I don't know if I'm over encumbered, because I don't pay any extra to put those things in the plane. I usually take AirAsia, but I do have a slightly bigger encumbrance, and I don't want to be more encumbered with the weight that I carry on my back or the weight that I carry on my stomach. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to gain weight anywhere here, because my body has to be agile and at least healthy enough to keep moving. What am I saying? I'm nervous, and maybe I have a fear of missing out. I'm nervous that I'll waste my opportunity to find the absolute coolest things in Chiang Mai, Thailand, while I'm here, because I don't feel prepared enough for how fucking cool it is. And I'm gonna have to deal with a lot of inadequacy because I wish I could just speak fluent Thai. But I studied Chinese for 17 years and I'm not even fluent at that yet. So you just gotta interact anyway. Hope for the best.